Hello guys, welcome to the first episode of Good Morning Marketers, where we're going to be bringing you all the latest news, insights, thoughts and opinions on everything that's happening in the marketing world, both online and digital space, and techniques and strategies as well that maybe you can take into your business to help you grow an effective marketing function. I'm delighted as well today. I'm joined for our first episode by the amazing Aisha Attah. Aisha, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Welcome. So Aisha, just before we kick off, do you want to give everyone a bit of an introduction just in terms of who you are and maybe some of the stuff you get up to here at Michelin Stones?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Aisha. I'm a digital marketing assistant, also an apprentice here at Michelin Stones. I basically do quite a wide range. There isn't something I don't really touch here at Michelin Stones. So whether that's email marketing, social media, lead gen, so many different parts. Yeah, that I'm.
You do a lot,
yeah,
don't you?
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons I wanted to bring Aisha on today is because, is it fair to say one of your passions is social media?
Yeah.
And so Aisha's got a bit of a roundup in terms of what happened in February in the social media space. Now, here at Michelin Stones, we work with both B2C and B2B clients, so we're going to be touching on both of those spectrums. But if we touch on the B2C world to begin with, Aisha, give me some insights in terms of what you've seen over the last month.
Oh, where to start? I mean, there's so many updates coming. I think there's been a real shift in, like, even more of an increase of building like community, so community building.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Instagram, they're testing out broadcast channels. They're not over here, they're across the pond, they're in the US at the moment, but that's something where you, like creators or brands, will be able to share so much more with their audiences and really get more conversations going. Aside from that, I don't know if you've seen it, but the whole de-influencing trend, I've even seen brands hop on that as well. And I think where 2023 is going to be more authenticity, more this, and that's not just creators, that's not just influencers, that is brands as well.
Yeah.
Everyone sort of being like, just having that pressure to be more transparent, because that's what people are looking for. And I think especially since we're going through a cost of living crisis, it's really changed it's really shifted users' behaviours and opinions and what we want to see. I mean, I know that I don't want to see something that's completely unattainable for me or not realistic. And yeah, people's attitudes are shifting. So the whole de-influencing trend, I'm seeing brands hop on it as well. It's essentially, if you don't know, it's where most of the time it's on TikTok and a creator a lot of the time, but there are brands doing it. They will share things which they're just saying, you don't need this. Like it's being pushed on you by all these other brands, all these other creators, but you don't need it. Some of them are saying you could get this instead. That comes into play, obviously. But people are just loving it because they want honesty and they want real opinions.
Do you think, so the world of like influencers, like I think obviously had a meteoric rise in terms of like looking at macro influencers, the Kim Kardashians of the world, etc., all the way down to micros, nanos, etc. Now, do you think trust has dropped in influencers because everyone knows that any products that's being pushed for someone who has a half decent following is probably sponsored?
Yeah, I 100%. And this is even me personally, how I'm consuming content. Nano influencers are really where people's trust is with. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. There's enough documentaries, there's enough exposés of like huge influencers just pushing something that they don't really believe in. Yeah. I mean, there was this whole blow up in the beauty industry of so many influencers going on this trip with one brand, Tarte, and showing a few products and things like that. But on that same trip that they're on, they're showing competitors' products, and obviously that whole expensive
it contradicts, doesn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of users were even annoyed, like, how can you go on one trip and show us this when if you're not being paid, you'll use something completely different, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting as well when it comes to like the whole influencer space, and I agree with you. I think that nanos and micros are more influential these days in terms of driving an ROI for businesses, because there's a lot of consumer-facing brands who I think invest heavily in the influencer market. Maybe see a small spike in sales for the life cycle of that post, right, in terms of when it's sat in the algorithms, sat in people's news feeds. And then when that post dies and goes into the ether, it's like, well, we got some good awareness from it, we got a few sales, but it didn't really wash its face in terms of the investment. Yeah. So I'm seeing more and more brands who maybe don't have really, really deep pockets to work with hundreds, if not thousands of influencers, just started to look at actually, is there another way? And how do we get a bit more self-sufficient? Because it's difficult to predict growth if you're if you're relying on these influencers just for these little spikes in sales, especially for consumer products. But moving on to like B2B. So any updates there in terms of what you're seeing?
Seeing a lot. I mean, it sort of as a whole in marketing, I'm seeing a lot more of community building as a whole.
Yeah.
And when it comes to B2B, that is more brands are hopping on social, more brands are showing a bit more personality with their content.
Yeah.
They're still remaining professional, but they're just showing a little bit more. And I think that's sort of your competition now. Like you have to show a little bit more about you behind the scenes, sort of, as well, like your ethos, what you believe in, and like not sort of like doing the right thing because it's the right thing, because I think, like we sort of spoke about just then with that transparency, people are seeing through it a lot more now. And one of the other things I'm seeing as well is there's a lot more like customer loyalty, more incentives that we're seeing as well. So I'd say those are the main things that I'm sort of seeing in the B2B space. But
just on that brand like humanization piece, I think there's a lot of brands who aren't used to that because of the space they work in, and maybe the perception of the professionalism they need to show day to day, the work mask, I suppose, that they're finding it hard to drop, and that might be a generational thing in a sense of like how businesses have always operated. This is how we've always done things. But I'm finding that there are a lot of industries who are coming around, and I think being a lot more human about things. And by the way, just to be clear on the whole humanization thing, this isn't like a fluffy marketing thing like let's all be more human, let's all be more authentic. It's like what we've realized is LinkedIn company pages, they don't really perform anywhere near as well as someone who has quite a good personal brand on LinkedIn, right? Now, I say the word personal brand with huge caution, because just because you're driving a load of engagement, likes, comments, etc., it's understanding, okay, well, is your audience that you're engaging even right for what you're doing day to day? So what I mean by that is like you could be engaging this audience over here, but if the world you're living in and you're dealing with ultra high net worth individuals, or you're dealing with doctors or engineers, and you're engaging everyone but them, is that the right personal brand? And I know we're kind of going from humanization to personal brand, but and this is where like what we do here at Mitchell & Staines is obviously we work with businesses and get their teams using LinkedIn to engage their audience, right, to inform, educate, and inspire. But what do you think that when it comes to brand humanization stuff, what are some small things that businesses can do without working with a company like ours to actually kind of get the ball rolling, get the ball moving?
Well, there's a lot that you can do. I think one of the main things that people struggle with it is getting everyone on board. And I think that the best way to sort of, the starting point for that is to make it seem as approachable as possible. Always start sort of smaller. And I think if you're in your team, you've got someone that maybe you can ask. Because I think a lot of people are hesitant because either they're not super keen on social media, they don't really put themselves out there that much, or because they're not sure if maybe, is this post actually okay to put out? So I think number one is having someone in your team that you can ask and is approachable and you feel empowered to ask questions to. And then in terms of the content and things like that, I mean, it's pretty much free, sort of like you could, realistically, you could post anything on there, but you do have to keep in mind who your audience is. But I do think that, say for instance, your team had a nice lunch, you could post about that. Or let's say you've got new starters, or there's an achievement, big or small. I think it's more so just getting faces on there. Yeah. And I think with LinkedIn, it's like, sure, someone's got a profile picture and sure you can see their name and you've got a face to that name, but you don't always have, like, sometimes you need a bit more than that. You need a personality, you need, like, to really engage with them. And it's going to help you sort of build those business relationships, I think.
I agree, because I think sometimes people look at that and they think, okay, well, you want me to be more personal, you want me to be more authentic, you want me to post about, what we're doing as a team, etc. And the question I think comes to some business owners' minds is, why do I do that? Why do I need to do that? And ultimately, in my kind of opinion anyway, it's about becoming familiar in the world of your prospects and them getting to know you without knowing you.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, you don't have to give away too much, and you only ever have to talk about what you're comfortable with talking about. But yeah, I agree.
Because also as well, it's amazing. Like, I know we've seen it. Like we've won clients from LinkedIn who've engaged with who haven't engaged with our content, who haven't never liked anything, never commented on anything, never shared anything, didn't even know they were there, like a ghost follower kind of thing. And all of a sudden they come out of the woodwork saying, Josh, I've been following your content for a while, really like it, love to have a conversation with you. And that's the why right there. It's the people who you know are following you, but also the people who are there, but you can't see them.
Yeah.
Because you don't know who's watching you, And if you're informing, inspiring, educating, and that they like the look and feel of you as an individual, like the look and feel of the business that you're working in, what they're standing for, the problems that you're solving, I think that's where, in my view anyway, commercially, this personal brand and brand humanisation thing makes the most sense.
Yeah.
But intrigued to know everyone's thoughts, really. So any final bits before we wrap up on the B2B side?
I mean, AI has had a really big boom.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's interesting to see how far, I mean, I don't know if there's any limits really, but how far it's sort of going to go and what people are going to do with it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see how much sort of time it's saving people and things like that, especially, maybe people that don't have super huge budgets for things like that. I mean, you'd be amazed at what you can do with it and how it can help you. Obviously, there's ethical concerns and things like that, but...
It's interesting because, I had a conversation with a chap who runs a HR consultancy business, and he's been in HR for years and years and years, and he was telling me a story about when, in the early days of his recruitment career, he works in a big recruitment firm, and this is literally when LinkedIn launched, right? So It's like we were in the early days of LinkedIn, and he was sat in a board meeting, the board of directors in there, and he says, look, he was sat there saying, guys, look, this LinkedIn platform's just launched. I think it's a big thing in our industry, and they all parred it off as like, no, it won't. No, it won't. And back then, just to paint a picture, and I was not in that world, so I'm just telling you what he said to me. But if you were applying for a job, you'd look at an ad in the paper. You ring up, you send your CV in the post. Those days. And I think some businesses, not a lot, but some businesses are responding to AI, responding to things like ChatGPT with that same kind of mindset where it's like, it won't be a big thing. We'll always need this. We'll always need that. And it's almost like the next phase of technological growth. Mm. And the people who are stuck in almost like a maintenance mindset mode where it's like, no, right, this is how we've done, this is our tech stack. We've always used LinkedIn. We've always done our workflow this way. We've always researched information this way. Like the reality is, like things like ChatGPT is early doors for what's coming, and I think the quicker you adopt, the quicker you're open to learn, the quicker I think the technology will help you. I think it's a positive thing. I think there's a lot of perception of people in the marketing world who think that since ChatGPT came along, we don't do any work anymore.
Yeah, I think there is.
Which is slightly true. No, I'm joking, it's not really. But I think all good topics, Aisha, and all stuff that we're going to dig a little deeper on. But this is just our quick Good Morning Marketers 15, 20-minute summary in terms of stuff that we're seeing. And we'd love for you to subscribe, get involved, like, share, do what you need to do. If you don't want to like it, you don't want to share it, no problem. I can see you. I know you're there. But join us weekly for Good Morning Marketers. Looking forward to see you on the next episode. Thank Aisha. Thank you for your brain.
Thanks
really good stuff going on in there. And take care, guys. Thank you.